Did you interact with John DuPont at all?
A little bit. Not as much as those other guys did, but he was, he brought me and Tom in on the 26th of December, back 92 in December, right after Christmas. We went there for an interview. So we were around Schultz and all those guys. And then we were there till the 28th, and then when we left, he said, "You guys will be Foxcatchers tomorrow."
That's nice.
That's nice.
Did you experience any of his erratic behavior?
Some of it, yeah. Looking back on it, you can say, yeah, it was a little weird, but when you're there, it wasn't. I mean, people walked around and it was normal. It was a normal place to be. And he was a little bit different, but not one person there, and this is hard because, lives have been affected. But not one person there feared for their safety up until the point where the guy's pulling firearms out. Or why would they stay there, right? So that was a really, really tough situation because Schultz was kind of the glue that held everybody together.
I've heard that.
And then when he was gone, then there was kind of like, it was fractured, and then there were like camps or cliques, and they would draw the line in the sand, and anybody who was taking money from Foxcatcher, it was blood money, that kind of a thing. So you had really, really real life, hard feelings that, are probably still present today.
Man, I would have loved to have met Dave, maybe in a similar way. I know you, a lot of these coaches. What was he like? From your perspective?
Schultz was loyal. I don't know what it was that he liked about me and Tom, but we gravitated toward him. I knew about him going all the way back to, 80 when I first started wrestling. And then 84, an Olympic gold medalist. Then he was at Wisconsin as a coach, which is, right up the road from us, 5 hours away. It's close to getting to Madison, it is to Iowa City. So he was like a sub Gable. He was that iconic in my world. And him and his brother, when they had that Sports Illustrated article, and Mark Schultz said, "I'm only interested in winning, pinning, and scoring points." And they put that fourth official on him for that brutality. That was real study for me. That was something that was like, these guys are people that I look up to, that I want to be like. I want to be like that. I want to wrestle that hard. I want to be that brutal on the mat. And then to be able to get to know him and spend time with him at the Foxcatcher and in those tours over in Russia and down in the Pan Ams in Mar del Plata, Argentina, and those places. It was awesome. We learned a lot of wrestling from him.
When did you find out what happened with him and DuPont?
We were in Krasnoyarsk, and the coach that was on tour there called us in one morning, early morning, and he's there and he goes, "Dave Schultz was shot and killed this afternoon." And it was like, that's one of those things where you remember what time, but what do you do with that? You're 13 time zones away from Iowa. What do you do with that information? Well, so then they were like, well, what are we going to do? Joe C. was one of them. Donnie McPherson was one of the coaches on tour, and they were borderline devastated, if not devastated, and as were we as a group. And collectively, it was pretty unanimous that we're staying and we're going to compete. That was January of '96.
What was that? I mean, what was that trip competing wise? What was that like? I don't necessarily mean did you win or lose, just.
It was, for me, it was the same because that's how Dave was. Dave was as I said earlier, you know, he was the cohesive part. So go back to October, we go in, the '95 world champions wrestled the Russian All-Stars in Vladikavkaz. And so we go over there. Well, Schultz is with DuPont over there. And we're over there with them. You know, it was me and Angle and Jackson, Melvin Douglas, I think, was on that. I think. And anyway, we were the four, and maybe there might have been some other Americans, but we were there. And then, you know, like Gevorkian from Armenia was on our team. He was a world champion at 68 kilo, 68 kilo, 149. And so, and then we wrestled the Russian All-Stars. And they were there. It was part of it. And Schultz was like, we just got to band together, man. You know, you don't know how he was, but that's how he was. He had that Cali in him, that California in him. You know, chilling. Stay together, man, it's okay. Well, and then we get back, and then we hear that DuPont, in November, we hear that DuPont is kicking black things off the Foxcatcher farm, like Jeeps. If you drive a black Jeep, you can't have the Jeep on the farm. Schultz's black boots, black people. And so you start to hear this, so me and Tom called up Schultz, and hey, no biggie, man, it's okay, just band together, it's gonna be okay. So in my mind, I'm following the leader of a guy who I, wanted to emulate my whole life, that I looked up to my whole life, and I'm believing what he's saying. And I still believe it today. I still believe that it was about the team aspect of it. We could have handled this better, the post-Schultz era, because we should have been able to bond together without, drawing lines in the sand. And, my friendships and stuff with those guys that were way better friends with Dave than I was, could have been stronger as a result. But, Dave kind of was the guy that brought us together, and then when he wasn't there wasn't any mix anymore. It was, well, they're Hawks. Well, they're in Newtown Square. And it was just a weird, one of them funny times in history, wrestling history. I have no regrets. I had nothing but the deepest admiration for Dave. And, coming from a place where wrestling is everything, and then going to a place where they made an environment where wrestling is everything. It was kind of cool to be that. So you're a Foxcatcher guy training in Iowa City. How does it get any better than that? I get to go on the road with Dave Schultz and train under Dan Gable. How does it get any better than that, right? So that's really, in a nutshell, the Foxcatcher experience.